Hey, I'm Nick from Transform My Poker. Thanks for watching this video on when to risk your tournament life. And this is a bit of a problem, right? Because when we're playing a no limit hold'em poker tournament, we get count them, one life. And once you've used it, once you've run out of chips, you're done. You're out of there. You've either got to fire up another one on your computer or you've got to do that sad panda walk to the exit and drive home. Don't know why I'm laughing. I know how unpleasant it is. So it's really tough to kind of put all your chips in the middle when you're not sure about a situation. However, if you're not doing that enough, you can never be successful at tournaments. Here's the big thing I want you to take away from this video. I'm going to give you some practical advice in a second, but if you only remember one thing, remember this. Top tournament players are much better at putting all of their chips on the line when they know the situation is right than average or struggling tournament players, because they understand how tournaments work and how they're set up. So look at any payout for a poker tournament and you'll see all of the money where? It's not in the top 40 spots, right? It's not in the top 100 spots. It's in the top 2 or 3 or 4 spots, depending on how big the tournament you're playing. You see those money jumps, they go big jump in the last few spots. So the whole tournament is set up to benefit those people that get to the end more often. And who are those people? Well, they're the people with the biggest chip stacks late on. Sounds like I'm stating the obvious, but here's the problem with most people's approach to tournaments. Most people approach tournaments as a survival exercise. You know, trying to hang on to your chips, trying to stay alive, trying to hang on to get to the money, limping in to get a small cash. Don't know if this sounds like, you know, how you play tournaments, but you probably recognize your kind of inner voice which tells you to kind of survive and hang on. That's a very natural way to feel because our chips are a precious resource. But it's completely wrong if you want to do well in tournaments. If you want to do well in tournaments, you must be constantly thinking about building that chip stack, about putting pressure on your opponents, about taking those spots which are not complete no-brainers, but are still positive investments for your chips, and being prepared to back them with as much ammunition as possible if it's the right thing to do. That's how top tournament players approach a tournament. They constantly think about the top 3 or 4 spots and building a chip stack, and that's why they're able to do so well so often. So how can we do that, right? How can we make this change from thinking about survival to thinking about winning and building a chip stack more often? There's 3 things that I think are really important for you to do, and you don't need to know any poker theory to do them. You can do it all up here, and then when you actually play, you can put that into practice. It can make a big, big difference. So number 1 is your approach. Your approach. And I've just been talking about this. It's all about your mindset going into a tournament. Don't have the mindset of survival. Here's the killer piece of information for you. A household tournament player that you could name, Daniel Negreanu, Phil Hellmuth, Jake Cody, whoever it is, they go out of tournaments just as much as you. In fact, probably an identical percentage as you. They cash more or less the same percentage. Maybe they cash a little bit more, but not that much more. Now, you may be skeptical about that, but you can go and look up top players' returns online. You'll find that I'm right. It's not about how often you cash, it's about how much you cash for and how many times you're getting to the final table and critically getting in the top 2 or 3 spots and winning it all. And you must embrace this idea if you want to do well in poker tournaments. Your approach needs to be fixed before you start playing. You need to be thinking about building a chip stack and having an aggressive attitude, not a defensive attitude. So your approach is number 1. Number 2 is to think actively. Think actively. It's very easy in a poker tournament, especially in the middle stages, to just kind of sit there, worry a bit about your chip stack and how the blinds are going up because they only go in one way, and starting to play defensively, only looking for good cards and so on. That's not going to get it done. If it was a game about who gets the best cards, everyone's results would be the same in the long run, right? And we know they're not. So how do you overcome that? You need to be thinking actively about how to gather chips. Ask yourself, who are your targets around the table based on their chip stacks and how they play? Look for spots to steal and attack the blinds and antes. Look for spots to attack other people that are attacking the blinds and antes and may have a weak hand. Look for spots where you can make big semi-bluffs, big bluffs, and so on. Always try and be on the front foot in the middle and late stages of a tournament. Now, that doesn't mean you're always going to actually attack. You're going to be asking yourself, is the situation right? But unless you're asking yourself those questions and looking for those opportunities and thinking actively, you're never going to see them and you're never going to accumulate more than your fair share of chips. So it's vitally important that you're constantly switched on and looking for ways to build that chip stack. And then vitally, number 3 is back your judgment. Back your judgment. and it's so important, I'm going to stand in front of it. Top presenting. Backing your judgment is vital. I coined a phrase a few years ago called the execution gap. And that is the gap between what you know in poker and what you're able to execute in the heat of battle. And with a professional player, that gap is very small. They're able to bring their knowledge and their insight and their analysis and actually execute on it. With a struggling player, that gap tends to be very big, right? Poker is an easier game when played, you're watching it on TV or you're watching it from the rail. I'm sure you've had this experience of watching a game of poker and knowing what the player should do. In the heat of battle, it's a little bit different. And it's very easy in tournaments with your tournament life on the line to take the safe option, to quietly fold or quietly check, to not go through with the bluff, to not go through with the big move or the big value bet. Very, very easy to do that, very natural to do that. But you must overcome those instincts if you're going to do well. So make this commitment right now to always back your judgment. Once you've gone through your kind of analytical process, once you've thought about what the situation is, if it comes out that the right thing for you to do is to make a bluff or a big semi-bluff or to make an all-in value bet or a really kind of difficult call, whatever it is, if your analysis says that's the right thing to do, you must follow through with it. So make a commitment to always be thinking actively, but then when you're in hand, take a deep breath, go through that logical analytical process, but then go with the outcome. Do not take the safe route. You will never achieve success in tournaments on a regular basis. You'll never be the person with the big chip stack at the final table on a regular basis unless you can go through these steps and really back your judgment when it counts. It's not something that necessarily comes naturally to anyone, but if you make the commitment to do it and keep putting it into action and practice, do it more, it'll become more and more comfortable. And before you know it, you'll be making big moves when the situation calls for it. Without seeing it as a big move, you'll just see it as the logical thing to do. All right, I hope you've got value from this video. I hope it's going to help you put your tournament life on the line when it's the right thing to do in the quest for that big chip stack. Stop worrying about survival. Stop worrying about busting. That's going to happen to you about the same amount anyway. Start worrying about how to get a big chip stack. If you've enjoyed this video, you can give it a like. You can hit subscribe to the Transform My Poker YouTube channel, and that will get you a regular supply of these free videos. You can also leave a comment and let me know what you thought and what you'd like help with in your poker game in another one of these vids. And if you'd like to take your poker to the next level, then head over to my website by clicking this link right here. You can sign up for an advanced set of training videos, which will really get you the confidence, knowledge, and improvement in your results that you're looking for. Hit that right now. Come over and see us at Transform My Poker. Until the next time we talk in one of these, run good.